recording. So, another new kind of video, because Drake and I are nerds. Um, so we're going to be talking about Song of Ice and Fire what ifs, and specifically we're going to be talking about the Tower of Joy fight
Yeah.
and what we think would happen in the books, not the show, because that was a fucking shit show.
It's been implied. We've not seen it happen in the books, if I remember correctly.
Well, okay, we
I know
Ned
it happened,
Stark
obviously.
Ned Stark thinks about it, and we know some things about the Tower of Joy fight, obviously. Um, but in this what if, we're going to specifically talk about if the Kingsguard never fought Ned Stark's party at the Tower of Joy. So obviously, the first thing we're going to have to talk about Drake is. Let me find Tower of Joy. Tower of Joy. This
the first thing
means. Wait, what? Okay, go ahead.
the first thing that we've got to talk about is that we can assume we can figure out why, right? Because why would they not fight the party? Their job, assumedly, was there to protect Lyanna and John.
So we have to assume, because the books aren't done, and we actually probably know never exactly what happened at Tower of Joy unless Bran gets a vision about it, that Rhaegar said something along the lines of, "Don't let anyone in."
Yeah.
Which, ends up, because even though, presumably the Kingsguard don't want Lyanna to get hurt because they're supposedly married or whatnot. We're going to go through the assumption that R plus L equals J, and that means they're married.
Which has been
John is
incredibly heavily implied.
This is going to have to be a base ground assumption you have to do. So we're going to assume that Rhaegar did not say "don't let anyone in." Rhaegar said, "Don't let
One hurt.
Don't let anyone hurt Lyanna,
or my son,
or don't make sure my son is protected or whatnot." And
because we can assume Rhaegar, being the princess that was promised fanatic he is, would probably assume that John would come out a boy.
Yeah. And also, I'm going to assume that he does not want. I'm going to assume he, at least in some sense, would be like, yeah, Ned Stark probably doesn't want to hurt his sister or his sister's child. Or even the
Rhaegar
Kingsguard.
didn't know Ned, but we'll just assume at this point that Rhaegar had a little bit of critical thinking. That, if it's Robert, fight him, but if it's Ned, don't.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah. Don't. We're going to assume they said something along the lines of, it's okay for Ned to be in here or whatnot, right? So, obviously, the first thing that happens is the fight doesn't happen, which means Willem Dustin, Ethan Glover, Martin Cassell, Theo Wool, Mark Riswell, Oswald Wendt, Arthur Dane, and John Hightower all survive. None of them are dead anymore.
And also the other people who were there.
Yeah, those were all the people that were there. I mean, I guess
you did not name all 13 Northmen.
There weren't 13. There were 7.
7? I thought it was 13.
No.
All right.
They didn't scale the fight. That would be one hell of a fight. 3 versus 13.
And the Kingsguard, they could have done it. Anyway, that means that everyone there, first of all, would be witness to Jon Snow's birth. Like, not just Howland, Reed, and Ned being the only people there.
Potentially birth, even if they don't let him in the tower, there's no way that Ned is getting them out of there.
Oh, where did this kid come from? It couldn't possibly be the person who died in childbirth. Let's just assume that Lyanna still dies in childbirth.
Well, yeah, I mean, nothing,
because it was complications from birth. Nothing that they could have done.
Unless Mark Riswell was really good at medical stuff, I think Lyanna's still gonna die.
Yeah.
But that means Barbary Dustin doesn't hate Ned.
No, because her husband's still alive.
That means Jory's dad is still alive.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I think was Mark Riswell who was yeah, they don't. He's a cousin of the Riswells or something. So,
he's not. He was like the least important of the group.
Yeah. Theo Wool, Ethan Glover, Lord Willem Dustin. Was Willem Dustin Robert Squire? I know one of them was Robert Squire.
What's more important is that more people than just Howland Reed know about R plus L equals J.
Oh, was it Ethan? It was Ethan Glover.
Yeah. They may all still swear an oath of secrecy, but there's way more people than just Howland Reed.
So Ethan Glover was Brandon's squire, which means he'd also have personal hand experience with both the execution of Rickon and Brandon Stark, and because the funny thing, I guess it's not really that funny. It's very sad actually, because fucking Ethan's like, oh, I'm gonna go to get Liana back with Brandon and my buddy Royce and whatnot, and then he is the only one who's not killed. Was it Kyle Royce, Joffrey Mallister, Albert Aaron? They all go with Brandon, and they all get fucking murdered. So, you know, that'll be nice. We'll have more lords in the title. The thing with that old Gerald Lannister or Gerald Lannister, Gerald Hightower is I doubt he's going to live long enough.
To make much of an impact. I mean, is he like the same age as Barristan or a bit older?
No, he's way older than Barristan. What was it? I think it will say something. Yeah, he was born 2243 AC. I don't remember when the recent events. When does the actually? I can basically figure out when Ned Stark dies. When does Ned Stark die? 299 AC. So by the time of Ned Stark's execution, 40. He's 40 when he dies, and if Ned dies like fucking what's that 16 years later, so he'd be 56. So he'd either be retired, like he's not gonna be serving his duties. Like Barristan is feeling the fucking
the age, and he's like
late
40s. Yeah.
How old is Barristan? Hang on. Is Barristan older than Gerald? How Barristan is older than Gerald, huh? Only by a couple years.
Huh. So Gerald could still live.
Yeah, okay, Gerald could still be alive, but he'd also, him and Barristan are both kind of, they're getting there, what is his relation to the Hightowers? I don't even know. Anyway.
All right, here's the first important question. Right, so we got more witnesses, and we've got the three Kingsguard still alive. Does Arthur Dayne, Gerald Hightower, and Oswald Went? I mean, assumedly they would want to keep track of Jon.
This goes in two directions for me, right? The first direction is because Lyanna said, "Promise me, Ned." Right? Ned feels it's obligated, and since the Kingsguard, at least one of them would be up there with Ned. There's no way they'd let him go in there by themselves. It'd probably just be. I've got to be reasonable. It's going to be the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard or Arthur Dayne. I mean, we love Oswald Went, but he's kind of no one in the grander scheme. But seeing as Arthur Dayne was probably Rhaegar's biggest supporter, I'd say Arthur and Ned are going to go up there. They're going to watch Lyanna die. So Arthur will be there at the Promise Me Ned, or I'm assuming Lyanna will still say Promise Me Ned, not promise Arthur Dayne to do anything, which he probably already promised to do at some point.
Yeah.
Right. So that means either I see this going in two directions. The first direction is that Ned still takes baby Jon. He'll probably be still called Jon, at least by Ned, because
I mean, that basically all that changes here in my head is that if first of all more witnesses, and then second of all, obviously Ned loses this or his aura of like beating the best fighter, so he probably doesn't go back to Starfall, which means that Edric doesn't call Jon his milk brother, but that's like really low importance.
Well, actually, that's not necessarily true. It's still.
I guess he could go back to Starfall.
He probably won't be called. Maybe he will even still be called Ned, Edric Dayne. But that's not the most important thing I was talking about. The fate of the Kingsguard is really the important thing for me right now.
Right? Yeah, well, like here's the thing, right? It's either do they stay here to protect Rhaegar's heir, like do they like go undercover, what? Because like maybe Oswald Went, because again he's kind of a nobody. He could probably go undercover with Ned, but I can't see Arthur Dane. He's the most well-renowned knight in the Seven Kingdoms at the time,
I'm gonna
and
say
Gerald
it.
Hightower.
I don't think any of the Kingsguard, because just because we don't know him that much doesn't mean the people of Westeros does know him that much.
That's true, but like people don't talk about Oswald Wayne. People don't even talk about Gerald Hightower that much. It's just Arthur Dane. Like he's the one that's talked about the most.
Because he's the motherfucker, right? So this is what I see. This is the thing that has to, right? Either Ned trusts the Kingsguard to protect John, or
and
we're gonna have to go talk about his name or whatever, right? And they either go to Essos or they go somewhere else, right?
Yeah, because my thinking was like, if they're still alive, wouldn't they take John to Essos? Because they don't know Viserys is crazy. That's for one, right? And Viserys is still a kid at this time.
Well,
Viserys
it's not that they don't know he's crazy, because I think they said something about. I think there was something about him showing signs of that stuff when he was younger. So it's not like it was.
Yeah, but like, if he grew up in a more developed household than being beggars on the streets, he'd
be less crazy for sure, especially when he's away from his father.
Also like Ned. I don't know, in the show at least it happens. Ned mentioned like Willem Dafoe's already taken them at this point, right, from Dragonstone. So even if Ned doesn't know that, the Kingsguard probably would. So the idea of them going with taking, I'm just gonna call him John. I don't.
We'll have to decide the name at some
point.
We're
not calling him Aegon because it's stupid.
No, it's dumb.
But the idea of that, so I see two options. Either they take John with them to Essos and go find Viserys and Dany, and obviously Willem Dafoe, who's still alive at the time.
And I'm sure,
or
I'm sure Ned would financially help them in some way.
I'm sure he would too, because it's his fucking nephew.
But the problem with that is that he'd also be supporting technically Viserys' rise. So that'd have to work out.
Yeah, but
they'd have to work out something with the Kingsguard,
If John is alive, Viserys is not the heir.
That is
true. It passes to sons before it passes to brothers.
But either way, Ned would be potentially harboring the heir, and I'm assuming Ned doesn't want to dethrone Robert. Maybe,
Ned wouldn't want.
We can talk about that later. We can talk about what this would happen later, right?
All right, which one are we going to focus on?
Well, I have to explain what I think is going to happen, right? So either, right, they go to Essos. That one's the easier one, right? They're obviously not going to abandon the other royalties' kids, because that's a whole. That's the whole thing, right? So that'd be really fucked up if they did that. But the other thing I see happening is maybe they go undercover in Winterfell or somewhere around in the Winterfell.
I mean, because here's the thing, right? Just because they know the name, like obviously Arthur Dane is a bit more suspicious because he's got purple eyes.
We don't even know if he's ever been to the north.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, again, it would be a bit suspicious if it was like, we got in a fight, and then everyone there, and like, they were never buried. I can definitely see.
Quick, Theo, fall on your sword real quick. We gotta make this look realistic.
yeah, I can see him trying to convince people that they went overseas, but then like they'll get no reports of it, and then they'll also, there's 3 new suspicious people at Winterfell.
Yeah, maybe not at Winterfell. Maybe just like they're a little outpost in the
or
woods,
maybe
or like a little
I don't
town.
see. Here's the other thing: I can't see because Barristan was spared and let back into the Kingsguard, right? Because Robert admired him so much, and Robert might admire Arthur Dane and the other 2 Kingsguard, but there's also a chance that they like go there like, hey, can we have our jobs back? And he's like, I thought you guys were dead. like I can't, because I think.
They just they hobble up covered in dust from Dorne, and they're like, "Where the fuck did you 3 come from?"
Yeah, like Barristan. All right, one old man who was formerly a Rhaegar supporter, right? Okay, that's fine, right? Whatever. But having a majority of former Targaryen supporters on the Kingsguard would probably make Robert a bit uneasy.
Well, I don't think so, because the whole thing about Robert is the guy who was able to or not even just convince his guys, but he was the integrator. At every single time he beats someone, he's like, "Nah, you're fine." He let Balon Greyjoy continue to rule the Iron Islands after rebelling. He didn't even kill him and install someone else. He literally just let like nothing happen.
Honestly, I feel like Robert was grateful Balon rebelled. He was probably getting really bored.
Yeah,
He
you
had the
know.
initiative
Let's keep this on the down low, man. I really appreciate you going
I
to
really
war.
appreciate this war you did. Like, it wasn't for me, but like I enjoyed the hell out of it.
If you do it again, I'm gonna have to kill you. But like, you know, I kind of appreciate it. I'm sorry about your sons. I'll just take that
I'm
as your
sure. I'm sure
punishment.
that was like what he was thinking subconsciously.
He's like, oh, thank God, some idiot decided
Not
to
a good
fight me.
war. But
We're getting
God,
sidetracked.
we are getting
We
sidetracked.
have to
But
decide which one's more likely.
I can't imagine. I think it would be difficult. I think it would be better if Ned just said, "Yeah, they fell upon their swords when they learned of Rhaegar's death because they couldn't defend their king." And like Rhaegar and the Mad King. And I'm sure people would believe that because
they
the
took the
king's
honorable way out.
yeah.
Maybe Arthur would go to Starfall real quick, pop in
I
and
feel
say,
like
"Hey
I mean it could
Ashara, don't kill yourself. I'm still alive. I'll see you later. I have to go defend. I have to go do a secret mission. I just want you to be okay."
I mean, I'm thinking this would be really tragic, but because Arthur has got such like a suspicious appearance compared to the other King's Guard, right? What
Uh-huh.
if they split and Oswald went and Gerald Hightower go with uh, Ned to the north to protect John undercover, right?
Yeah, because I mean, to
And
be fair,
Dane
right? This is
goes to Essos to protect Viserys and Dany.
right. Funniest thing in the world. As long as Gerald and Went never like show their faces to anyone,
Right.
fucking. I mean, sorry, it's just an old guy and his son and his grandson.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I again,
I can see that.
Dane, I can't see it because he's got purple
Dane
eyes.
has to Dane has to go do something.
Dane would have to either never show his face, period, or would go to uh Essos.
Honestly, right? Because Danes are, purple eyed. I could
I mean,
honestly
he
see.
could blend in Essos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he could go to Lys. He could go to Bravos. Theoretically, right? If he's good enough at hiding on the villages, he could go to Dragonstone. There's probably still some descendants of Targaryens as common folk on there.
Like the Dragon Seeds.
Yeah,
Maybe,
Dragon Seeds are ancestors of
I
Dragon
feel
Seeds.
like Stannis would know what Arthur Dane looked like.
Yeah, and then Stannis would fucking kill him if he saw Arthur not being a Kingsguard. So maybe not Dragonstone may not be the safest place for him.
Yeah, also Dragonstone. Like, what would he have to like? What would he be doing there? Like, he's a Kingsguard. His job is to protect the king and his family. The king is dead. His family is not.
And then I think Jaime would be less resentful of Ned because the reason Jaime didn't like Ned is, well, one,
that was one of the reasons
Ned's
he
called
killed
him
Arthur
Kingslayer. But the second, and I would argue,
the bigger reason was the judgment, but
yeah,
I'd say a part of it was definitely it would be slightly less. I don't know if it'd be that like significantly less, but
yeah. But then also, I feel like Jaime would have a lot less self doubt about him being the best swordsman in the world.
Mm.
But yeah, I'd say how we should do it, right? Went, Gerald, and John go to the north. They get sponsored as a village, right?
Yeah.
Arthur goes to Essos to keep track of Viserys and Daenerys.
All right. So which of these do you want to focus on first?
Well, let's clear up the name, right? There's no fucking way John is going to be named Aegon, right?
No.
He might be called John by Gerald and Went.
Right.
But there's no fucking way his name is Aegon. Because that's just stupid. In every sense of the word. So my thing is I always thought, I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's just Harry's because of John. Well, he was named John because of Jon Arryn.
Yeah.
So maybe he's not even called John. Maybe
well,
he's called.
He could still be named John after John.
I mean, he could be because John's more of a a first man name because it's simple.
Right. Yeah.
Or I guess I don't know if John is a Andal name or a first man name, but it's a simple name and could very well be an Andal name. But he's clearly not Dornish. He'll be raised, so he'll still be. I don't even know if he'll be a Snow. He probably would just be called. He won't even be called with a last name because peasants don't get last names. Maybe he's fucking John of Molestown or something. Who knows?
Okay. I didn't get what you meant by the grandson thing. So you're saying that like
So
Gerald,
Jared pretends to
like
be Oswald's
basically,
dad.
they're
Oswald pretends to be John's dad.
all right, yeah. Actually, that's pretty smart.
Because
He,
Oswald's young enough to be Gerald's son, and John's young enough to be Wen's son.
yeah. Actually, that's smart. That means Catelyn won't be mad at Ned.
Yeah,
Ever.
I mean, obviously, yeah. Well, Kat will not be resentful towards Ned, which is great. John will
This
be
does
raised.
have the bad effect of making it so John doesn't have siblings growing up, even if they're half siblings.
I mean, yeah, that would be unfortunate.
So like Arya, Rob.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe John is sent. Maybe Ned wants to keep an eye on him, and sometimes after a certain amount of time, people are gonna forget what Oswald went or Jailhouse looks like. Maybe Oswald works from the stables, and every once in a while, John gets.
I mean, I imagine they'll be well taken care for in Winterfell. He wouldn't want to keep. He would want to keep John close.
Yeah. Well, my only problem with them staying in Winterfell is that if Cat, or I mean that she's basically the only person.
But Cat never left Riverrun. I don't think until she got married to Ned. I don't think she would have ever even seen the Kingsguard before up until this.
I don't know. I mean, I guess if they were dirty and unkempt enough, it'd be hard.
Yeah, and John could come back, or Ned could come back with them. It's like, oh yeah, these guys saved my life somehow,
or
maybe
or
they just
these guys are really useful.
They helped me when I needed it, and then like not elaborate on that.
And then what is it? Willem Dustin would be the Lord of Dustin.
Yes,
he would still be Lord Dustin. Ethan Glover would go, hang out with his family. I'm sure he and Ned would get along. Especially Ethan Glover would probably form a stronger relationship with Ned based on their experiences with Brandon.
I feel like there'd be a lot of awkward conversations whenever Robert came up with all these people being alive.
Yeah, Martin Castle would still be alive, so George would keep his father, and Roger would keep his brother. Theo Wool. I don't know anything about the Wolves. Mark Wiswell. I mean, so Barbara Dustin gets to be Lady Wiswell instead, and gets to keep her husband. So, what's about Theo Wool? I don't know. Do we know anything about House Wool? What do we know about House Wool? They have 3 buckets.
I don't know. I don't know anything.
Mountain Clansmen. I guess the Mountain Clans would be. I mean, they already like Ned, so they'll be more friendly to Ned. I'm going to assume. And then so Gerald went. John. All right, we're gonna clear this now, right? John's name should start with a V. Rhaegar was talking about the 3 heads of the dragon. He named one son Aegon, one son was it Rhaenys, or one kid.
I think it was Rhaenys, yeah.
Right. I'm gonna check it quick. Lyanna Stark. Where is it gonna say Jon Snow? Where is it? Oh, I'm trying to find the link to Jon. Oh wait, why am I just not looking at Jon Snow? That's stupid. Jon Snow. Oh, it still says unknown woman on here. Hang on. I do not know how to spell Rhaegar. Why am I being stupid? Why don't I just go back to the Rhaegar Targaryen? This will probably be cut. Rhaenys, yes. Rhaenys and Aegon with Ellie Martell, right? So, Rhaenys obviously is still dead. This does have potential, though. For when we get to Essos, I want to talk about this other potential it has, right?
Yeah, we could. Yeah. It's obviously unknown to Viserys or Viserys, Dany, or even Arthur Dane who's going over to Essos, there is like they don't know about Aegon.
The Aegon
The
plot.
Aegon
But we can
plot.
talk about the Aegon plot in a second. Or not in a second, but whenever we get to Essos. Um, so, I always thought that he would be needing something that starts with a V. Obviously, if Rhaegar thought he was going to be a girl, it would have been Visenya. But there is no Visenya. But there is other Viz names. Um,
I'm gonna be honest. I don't think John's name is that important right now.
It's not, but there's so many V names that it could be.
Well, the other thing is like, I don't even know if John would name him. I guess they would probably just go with whatever John thought for him. But it probably couldn't be John.
No, John would probably be the cover or something.
Yeah. Well, and I'm like, well, I'm being serious. Like, why would it be John if it's posing as Oswald Wend's kid and not John and not Ned?
Because they're just random citizens. Like no one's gonna care what their names are.
So it's just a coincidence?
Well, Ned will suggest. They're like, "What are we gonna call him?" And be like, "John."
Yeah, I guess, but like, yeah.
Or Oswald would say like some Riverlander's name, or Gerald Hightower will say some Reach name. Doesn't matter.
His cover name doesn't matter, nor does his real name technically.
Eventually his real name will matter.
That's fair.
So it could be, what is it? I have a list here. I'll send you the list of Viz names that are all. These are the standard Viz names for the Valyrian tongue.
Jeez.
So a lot of these are dumb, but I don't think it'd be Viserys, and there's a possibility it's Viserys, but I would. It's really, would Rhaegar name his kid Viserys if he already has a
brother named Viserys?
Brother named Viserys.
I mean, it could just be Vhagar, because like they've named, like Meleys was named after a dragon.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying that it's Viz because Visenya.
Yes,
Rhaenys and
Visenya,
Aegon, so.
But obviously it couldn't be Visenya because John does.
I'm sure there's a male version of Visenya, which is probably Viserys.
Yeah.
Something like that. It would be one of these, in my opinion. One of the V names. Viz names specifically, V names in general.
So John doesn't grow up believing he's half siblings with the lords of the family. He's just
he's like the lord. He's under them.
The lord favors my family for whatever reason.
Yeah, they're like. I mean, the castles are kind of related to the Starks, I think. Or they're a subsidiary. I don't know if they're like a branch of like a brother or a previous Lord Stark, or if they're like a bastard branch, or if they're literally just raised up commoners. But they probably treated on at least equal level to the castle, so maybe John might even become like a guard at Winterfell or something.
Yeah, he'd be treated well, and he wouldn't get resentment from Catelyn.
No, he wouldn't, and he'd probably be trained by Gerald and Oswell and Jory and all the guys.
Yeah, but I think it'd be suspicious if he said these guys are like random peasants, and then they were just really good at fighting for some reason.
I mean, if they're from the war.
I mean, maybe secretly they could train.
They could train him secretly. He's like, "Oh, you're really good at that. Where'd you learn that?" "Oh, my dad was a soldier." Okay.
Yeah, that's believable.
Commoners are skilled all the time. Bronn is.
I don't know.
Bronn is a random commoner, and he's, pretty decent, it seems.
Yeah. All right. So John grows up at Winterfell. That essentially just covers that for all the way up until like the start of the books. What about Arthur Dane and
in Essos? So now that I think about the Aegon plot, right? There's two potentials, right? Because Varys is,
informed,
and he's been keeping track about Dany because of Illyrio and whatnot, right? So I think
they might show up, and then Illyrio will be like, "Yo, Varys, Arthur fucking Dane just showed up."
Arthur Dane is here. I'm not sure if you're aware, and they might try to get him in on the Aegon plot. Because Arthur's probably seen baby Aegon before, right? But if Aegon, let's say Fagon, just to make it easier. Because I subscribe to the theory he's either a bright flame or a black fire. It doesn't matter which, but he's one of them, in my opinion.
All right, yeah, but here's the thing, right? I don't know if Arthur Dane would remember a infant. Like, obviously he knows.
Well, you know what they generally look like, right? So if Varys could convince, or Illyrio could convince Arthur, hey, this child's Aegon, enough.
All right, so if he was like quote unquote pisswater prince, like some people think he is,
Or at least
I don't think
Lysine.
I don't think Varys would risk it with Arthur Dane. I think
if he's Pisswater Prince, like if he's literally nothing, no, I don't think so. If he's
like
Brett Flame or
like,
Blackfire, I feel like he would risk it and potentially could say, "Hey, we also have this guy." I'm not sure.
He'd probably say something like, "Your duty was to your king's children first.
Your duty is to your king's
we can handle Viserys and Dany," and I don't know if he would go along with that or not.
I don't know. Maybe he'd demand that they go together. Maybe he'd demand, "Hey, I will help you, but you gotta get Daenerys and
the
Viserys
royal family in one spot." Yeah. And there's no plans to marry her to Drogo because Drogo's not a warlord yet. They're still children.
No, in fact, he probably plans on marrying Daenerys to Aegon, and they'll be younger. I mean, Aegon would be a couple years older, so I mean
that would probably be Arthur Dane's first instinct, whether or not it's actually what happens. But you also have to consider that Arthur Dane would know about Jon.
Yeah, but Aegon, if he knows about Jon,
would Arthur Dane tell Illyrio, like, "Hey, we got another Targaryen in Westeros," or he'd be like, "I don't trust these people"?
Yeah, he might not. He might not. I think he's supposed to be smart, right? So why release all your cards?
Yeah, and he probably kept a promise to not say that.
Yeah, so Arthur knows that there are potentially. I mean, really, it's going to be 3 Targaryens alive, but there's 4 Targaryens in his mind alive. But he will only let Illyrio know. About,
I mean, they're technically Targaryens if it's not a pisswater prince.
Well, no, they're Blackwater or Blackfires, which are
yeah, but that's Targaryen cadet branch, so they're under the Targaryen umbrella.
They are under the Targaryen. It's fair. Bright Flame, Blackfire, whatever. As long as he's not a pisswater prince, it don't matter. I would say that the book implies he's a Blackfire, even though Bright Flame would be funny, because we don't know what happens to Maegor Bright Flame. He just kind of disappears, but
yeah, Maegor Bright Flame. Let's go.
Where the fuck is he? Dead. He's very much dead, in my opinion. Whether he died of old age or
he probably died.
I don't know. Which
I wouldn't even be surprised if he died during this. No, he can't have died during the Spring Sickness because he was still considered at the council.
Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, Arthur Dane. If he gets revealed to Varys, this is going to change a lot. So we have to pick one, I guess, that we think is the most.
Well, it's basically just now we got to branch again. Does he join the Aegon plot? Does he combine them, or does he like try to strong arm them to combine?
In no way do I see Arthur Dane, from the little we know about him, not wanting to protect all of the royal family. So if he convinces Aegon, he's going to want them together. If he's never told about Aegon, if he's unconvinced, he might just, do some drastic actions. But we don't have to go down that road, because I'm going to assume that Varys knows how to convince people, or Illyrio knows how to convince people. Yeah. So we have to choose. Does Varys ever say? Do they ever plan on getting Arthur into the fold, or do they just let him continue?
Because I think Varys is smart enough to know Arthur to not tell him about the Aegon plot. If we're under the assumption that the Aegon plot is, as it likely is, not actually Aegon. So I think Varys would know that Arthur Dane would ruin their plans. I feel like he would just say, "Here's Dany and Viserys, and you can protect them like Will and Barry."
I don't even think it'd be like Illyrio would show him to him. I think Arthur would just be able to find them.
That's true, because in the actual story they were running in the streets for a while until Illyrio picked them up. So yeah, I don't even think Varys would get involved. I think he'd just let Arthur Dane find them.
That also raises the question for later in the line, when Jorah is sent to spy on them. What the hell is going to happen with that? Because Jorah probably knows what Arthur Dane looks like.
Well, here's another thing, right? Arthur Dane probably would have an assumed identity at that point.
Yeah, maybe.
Like some.
He's some Lysine guy or something.
Yeah, with the dyes. Obviously, he'd have the Westerosi look, so Jorah would be probably suspicious.
Yeah, he had a Westerosi accent.
Yeah, the other thing is like, would Arthur Dane like come up with an assumed identity?
Well, I also have to say something, Drake.
Right.
What happens to Dawn?
That is a okay. So if assuming they go back to Starfall and Arthur Dane's going to Essos, and the stories that Arthur's dead, he'd probably leave it there. I don't think he's stupid enough to take
Yeah,
his story
because
and
there's
move it
no
sort of overseas.
if he's supposed to be dead, it'd be very dumb for him to take Dawn with him. I don't think Arthur Dane is dumb, so I'm going to assume he has to, drop.
Very reluctantly leave behind probably the best sword in Westeros.
Yeah, and obviously, I'm going to assume because Ashara killed herself, from what we know, because she had a miscarriage and then her brother died. I'm going to assume Ashara does not kill herself.
Yeah, probably not. She
Because
had no reason to.
only half of the things that caused her pain happened the first time. I'm sure she would be comforted in knowing the fact that her brother is still out there.
Yeah.
And now, I guess we can fast forward in time.
Well, wait, we still got something unresolved, right?
What?
By this time, Willem Dafoe should still be alive, because it was like a couple years.
Yes.
Like Dany was old enough to remember the Red Door before they got kicked out.
But he gets sick.
Yeah, but the servants stole all of Derry's money and kicked him out of the house, which is why they had to flee. But Arthur Dane is still young. Like he's pretty. Willem Dafoe was kind of old.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way Arthur's gonna let the servants steal their shit.
No, and they're probably not gonna steal it with him around because they only felt like Willem Dafoe was on his deathbed and they didn't feel comfortable enough to steal it until he died.
Yeah, no, for sure. Willem Dafoe's probably still going to die because I think it was a sickness or old age or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think Willem Dafoe lives. I think, but instead he won't be the Beggar King. Viserys won't be the Beggar King.
They'll still have all the stuff from Dragonstone.
Because they'll still have a house. Yeah,
and they won't be forced to sell, their mother's
heirlooms. Yeah.
Whether Viserys plans on using it. Actually, he probably won't be. I'm going to assume Viserys and Daenerys are raised with the knowledge that that their nephew is still alive. Arthur then probably would say, "Hey."
Well, if anyone, he would tell them. But
yes.
I think he'd wait until they're older because they're children.
Well,
like children can't be trusted to keep that sort of really important.
I would say that, right? But I don't see Arthur wanting Viserys to grow up thinking he's going to be king, and then to tell him later when he's an adult that he's not going to be king.
I see that. So maybe he tells Viserys and not Dany.
Yeah, maybe.
Because
Viserys was like a teenager already, or something.
Yeah. Okay.
How old was he when he?
I don't know.
Viserys. I spelled that wrong. How do I spell Viserys, Targaryen, the Beggar King, the Cart King, history, early life. He was born 276. So what is that? Plus 8. He was 8 years old when he went over to. So yeah, he'd be a little older.
He'd be old enough to tell. Maybe not, and still give Arthur enough time to give him at least a better childhood than growing up on the streets. Yeah. So maybe
hey, this guy killed your dad and stole your nephew's throne. But don't worry, this isn't the end, right? You're gonna go back. Yeah. But maybe I have a feeling Arthur was able to keep him from being a little prick.
Yeah, maybe but a bit more than Viserys was probably still recoverably for madness, but probably not as bad.
He was able to. I'm sure his temper would have been able, because we were little shits when we were 8, right? But
yeah,
I have a feeling a lot of the stuff where there's like, oh, Viserys was showing madness even when he was young. It's like he was a kid. That's like something you could use to justify it later. I think what really broke Viserys was when he was forced to live on the streets, thinking there's assassins after him all the time. If he has the best sword in living memory.
Yeah.
Right next to him.
A bit less paranoid.
He's probably not going to be paranoid about daggers in the dark. And obviously, Aegon, or was it the Varys and Illyrio never assassinated them when they were younger. There's no reason to assassinate them when they're younger, but have Arthur Dayne with them instead, right? I'm just going to assume that Varys probably knows that Arthur Dayne is there.
He probably figured it out eventually.
Because he's a fucking insane spy master and just knows things.
Now, would he tell Robert, hey, Arthur isn't dead? Because if he wanted to keep the Aegon plot alive, he probably would. Because obviously he didn't tell him about Aegon, right? If he thinks Arthur can really help, but then you get the problem of, like, I guess people could know he exists without knowing it's Arthur.
See, the thing is, I think Varys was willing to. I don't know. In the books, right? We don't know who tries to kill Dany, right?
I mean, it's pretty well assumed that it's Robert.
Yeah, but who sends the poison? That's the thing. I can't remember. Was it still a wine giver that tried to kill Dany in the books?
Yes, it
so
was
who
exactly,
gave the poison to them? Because I don't think it was Varys, as we learned later. Varys is.
I mean, everyone assumes it's them.
Yeah, everyone assumes it's Varys, right? But do we actually know that? Because would Varys try to kill Dany if he still wants to marry Dany to Aegon? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah. But Jorah was super sus about the wine cellar after he got the note from Varys. Maybe he was alerted to the potential of assassins.
Yeah, that's the weird thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to chalk it up to not or not Varys. I don't think Varys. Maybe it was Littlefinger. Maybe it was Renly. Who knows? Maybe Robert, got some other spy masters or some other people to do it. I just can't reconcile the fact that Varys would try to kill Dany, even though he wants to marry Dany to Aegon.
Yeah, because it takes until literally Aegon. It's like, no, let's just go.
Okay, have we cleared everything up? Willing to skip to I guess War of the Five Kings time?
I think we could probably just say that Arthur Dayne has an assumed identity, and we'll just call him.
Maybe he learns how to speak, Lycene.
Or Valyrian, so he could be more
noble-ish. Or something.
Yeah, maybe you could call him, like, I don't know, something Star Eyes or something, because that'd be kind of cool.
another Simeon Star Eyes.
Yeah, but yeah, whatever.
Anyway, so yeah, assumed, and then we can go up to shoot up to War of the Five Kings. So
War of the Five Kings. All right. So first off, Ned does not need to send Jon to the wall because he's not in peril. Right? He doesn't have to worry about Jon being thrown to the wolves. Jon and what are we gonna call the collective? Just the Jon, Gerald, and Oswald may or may not go to King's Landing.
Ooh.
Because I don't think.
No, there's no way.
I don't think Ned would risk it.
Ned might bring Jon.
The Castles went to King's Landing.
Yeah. Ned might bring Jon. But there's no way he'd bring Oswald or Gerald Hightower.
I don't think he'd risk Jon. He's got no reason to bring Jon.
And if he can't bring Oswald or Gerald Hightower, then they probably won't let him go.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Jory Castle's dad might go instead of Jory, or maybe they both go. Basically change nothing. It just make it a little more sad if the same events play out, which they probably would.
Yeah.
That'd just mean that Jory and his dad both die. Actually, not necessarily, because he died differently in the books than in the show. You know what I mean? If Jory's dad, if Martin Castle and Jory Castle are in that little retinue of 3, obviously Martin Castle would be the senior of the 3 people. Because I remember it was like Big Tom, Jory, and another guy. And they all died because they stayed, even though they were directly told. I have a feeling Martin Castle would be like, a little smarter. And they're like, hey, we should follow or leave Lord's orders and get out of here. In which case, they wouldn't die then, but they still might die during the turn of power.
Yeah.
So it might be fucked either way. But I'm assuming they both go, which means assuming they're both gonna die, and Roderick's still gonna.
That's only
And unless Jory doesn't go, in which case he'll either go with Catelyn Stark with Roderick Castle. I have a feeling the castles are fucked either way because if they stay at Winterfell, they get killed by Theon.
Yeah.
If they go with Catelyn, they get killed by Ramsay, and if they go to King's Landing, they get killed by Lannisters. So
yeah, it's I feel like they're not long for this world, regardless.
I mean, it's still just could be Roderick's daughter who's the last castle, or yeah, I think it's Roderick's only daughter. And even then, I don't know if she gets killed by Ramsay when he sacks Winterfell or not. I don't even know what happened to her. She's not that important, but it's still kind of funny to figure it out. So. Sorry, Beth Castle. What happens to Beth Castle? Oh, Beth is a captive of the Dreadfort. Yeah, so Beth Castle's still alive. But I have a feeling Martin is gonna die. It's kind of sad, seeing as he survived the Tower of Joy this time just to get killed in King's Landing.
Yeah.
On to more important things. So, yeah, pretty much that'd be the same. Jon Arryn gets poisoned by Lysa and Littlefinger. Ned goes down there. Now, we will get a lot different because the wall is going to be a lot different now that Jon isn't there. You know?
Yeah. The Night's Watch also has some sort of well, let's just say not great time in their future without Jon.
Well, I got to think of it this way, right? So, if you want to go through Night's Watch right now, right? So,
right.
If Jon doesn't go to Night's Watch, Tyrion never goes to Night's Watch for sure. Vengeance probably still disappears. Sam, I don't know what happens to Sam. I don't know if Sam would ever pass training. Or if maybe he'd become a more hardened guy from constantly getting his ass kicked. Maybe he'd just become, I don't know, a steward. He probably definitely wouldn't be Maester. I don't think he'd be Maester Aemon's assistant because Jon isn't there to vouch for him. So he might just become a random steward. He might die. And, no Sam the Slayer, unfortunately, this time. Yeah, we'll have to get back to the wall because the wall has a lot more later on, but that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, it'll be a problem for the Night's Watch at least.
So Jon doesn't go to the Night's Watch. Does he stay at Winterfell?
Probably. I would argue he'd probably stay at Winterfell.
So what happens with the Ironborn?
So that depends. I think two big strong guys would probably go down with Robb.
So you're saying,
like, because
Jon? I mean, yeah. According to Rob's gonna say, "Hey, you come with us. Why are you still?"
Yeah, you're fighting men, right?
And you're good. You're actually a good soldier.
Soldiers. You helped my dad when he was, in the past. Like, I don't see why they wouldn't.
Do you think he leaves anyone, or do you think all three of them go?
Well, here's the thing.
It is a tradition in the North for the old men to go down. So Gerald they might all three of them go and fight with Robb, which would be very interesting if anyone happens to recognize them.
Yeah.
That'd be a whole thing. Could you imagine? They're sitting at a table and like fucking. They're out in the camps rather, but like Jon's. Some of our lords walking by looks at like, hang on a fucking minute, Gerald. or
Well, it'd been so many years.
yeah,
I don't know
probably
if they would
Gerald would be
see.
recognized. Oswald
There's
might be recognized though. You know.
Well, there was like this. There's this big thing in the Song of Ice and Fire stories about people not recognizing.
Well, that was
Well,
specifically Theon, to be fair.
I know. No, there's more. It's not just
Well, I
Theon.
know, but Theon's the
There's a lot of
biggest.
mistaken identities. There's Jamie ponders that no one would recognize him if like the king. Other members of his Kingsguard didn't recognize Jamie when he first showed up, all disheveled.
Yeah, I guess you're right. So they could probably play it off. That does beg the question, though. Um,
Right.
who does Rob name in his will?
I. That's. Yeah, actually, that's pretty important.
Does he give it to Sweet Robin? Probably not, because that's through a Tully line.
Mm.
Apparently, there's someone in the Erie that he's related to. Do they get to go in the will?
I mean, they have to if he dies without issue, seeing as this time there's no. He doesn't think John is related to him.
Oh shit! I just realized.
Right? What?
Battle of the Whispering Wood. Does Jamie recognize Gerald or Oswald Went?
Oh God, yeah. Actually, that's far more realistic, assuming that they're there. Oh,
I mean, assuming, it was how many men did Jamie cut down on the way to Rob? Like 16 or something, or 8 or 6 or something. It was.
they killed all. He killed most of. He killed a bunch of the honor guard, including, you know,
So there's a couple things with that, right? If Oswald Went, Gerald Hightower couldn't beat Jamie by themselves, right? If the two of them happen to get put in the honor guard, because they're skilled, right? Fucking. Right. Do you think Jamie would get thrown off by the fact that,
I think Jamie would not expect to see two members of the Kingsguard amongst the Northerners. I think that would throw him off.
Because I mean, obviously they're not as good as him, right? But they might be enough skill to help him get restrained before he can kill more people. Which means there's a potential that Karstark's kid doesn't get killed. Eddard Karstark.
Yeah, there is a potential for
that. Which
that.
means there's a potential that, or I don't know if it's Eddard or Rickon Karstark. Let's figure it out. Karstark. Yeah, there's a chance that is it Harrion and Eddard to get killed?
I can't remember their names. And I just reread that part of the book, so.
No, it's Eddard and Torrin. Yeah, Eddard and Torrin Karstark might not die. Which means there is a chance that Rickard Karstark does not get pissed that his sons just died. Mm-hmm. And there's a chance that Rob doesn't kill Arnulf or Rickard, which also means there's a chance that they don't need the phrase.
Well, you see, they didn't. They needed the phrase so they could go to the Whispering Wood. Like, that was their plan. The big scheme. So they might still have to make the alliance with the phrase.
Yeah. But they still have the forces to, because Karstark was the big part of their force, right?
2,000 swords, yeah.
And we can get back to that at some point. But that is definitely an option. We could just make it go the same to make it easier for ourselves. Because then we'd have to, Jamie would obviously be like, what the fuck are two members of the Kingsguard doing here?
Yeah,
And
I
then Rob
think
would be like,
Jamie,
"Excuse me."
and he'd be like, "Huh?" And like, "Oh, well, the cat's out of the fucking bag." And he's like, "First of all, my dad lied," which is, whatever. But I don't know if he'd believe Jamie Lannister. I don't know if Gerald and Went would be able to hide it though. Like,
Like if
'cause
Jamie
that's not
says it,
something he
then they'd
would
be
just
like,
say.
hey, well, hang on. I mean, they are
Like
pretty good
these girls,
fighters.
they
They'd
might
probably
be
find someone
nobodies.
who's seen them before, and be like, yeah, these guys look it, and they're like, fuck,
But
okay, well,
that's only if Jamie ever enacts them. That's like assuming that they're in the honor guard. Only because, like, the only reason I would ever assume they'd be in the honor guard is because of
they're skilled fighters.
skilled fighters. Yeah, I don't know because the honor guard is just that, like an honor
Well, let's
guard.
see who is in Rob's personal guard.
Well, obviously it's two car Starks. One Lord. Name I
Lucas
can't remember.
Blackwood, Robin Flint, Oliver Frey, Perwood Frey, Theon Greyjoy, Darren Harwood. Darren Hardwood killed by Jamie. Eddard Karstark killed by Jamie. Torn Karstark killed by Jamie. Donald Locke, Patrick Master, Wendell Manderly. It's all the known members are all lords. So I'm assuming his honor guard specifically made of lords and lordlings, or not lords and lordlings, but like lords' kids. So
I don't know if they'd be there unless they
yeah.
actually just brought. Maybe those are just the named ones, right? Like the ones we know, not necessarily all.
Forming Rob's battle guard during the Battle of the Whistling Wood are 30 nobles.
All right, nobles.
According to this, so which means they wouldn't be there. So we don't have to worry about that, unless they happen to see him and stop him before he gets to the honor guard, which is also possible. But I will say, if they're in battle and John's in battle with them, because he'd just be he might be a more skilled fighter, but he'd still be just a guy, right?
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to assume that they'd be focused on protecting him, which means I'm going to assume that we're going to continue down the normal line of path. So Jamie will not run into them unless he happens to notice them while he's captured, which he probably won't.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So we're gonna have to go back to the normal things that happen. What changes in King's Landing? Well,
Nothing.
Ned probably still refuses to kill Dany.
Yeah, they might, depending on whether Varys wants to say anything or not, they might learn of Arthur Dane, or they'll just say, "Hey, there's some weird Lyseni guy called, uh, there's some Lyseni guy who's protecting."
Well, I'm not sure because Varys wants to destabilize the realm, right?
Right.
Getting a if we're gonna, I guess, rewind before the Battle of Whispering Wood or whatever like that, like before Ned dies. What would be an easier way to cause strife if he reveals that Arthur Dane is with Dany and Viserys, which means that Ned has been lying to Robert for like 20 years.
That's true, but he does want the Starks and the Lannisters to fight. If Ned is just like straight up in prison for lying to Robert, they won't fight. Because it wasn't the Lannisters who captured him, it was Robert Baratheon.
Yeah, sure.
And then Ned can't do his investigation. If Ned doesn't do his investigation, he will
Yeah, we're just gonna have to assume that everything happens the same. Varys, I guess, just doesn't give the report part of Jorah. Jorah will definitely see Arthur Dane and be like, "That's fucking Arthur Dane." But whether he will, if Varys probably will not relay that part of the information to Robert, which would be really funny. So we're gonna go back to the whole thing, right? Everything. Well, I don't know. Would Arthur Dane let Dany get married to Khal Drogo?
I don't think so.
Or he's gonna save them. So Dany isn't gonna get, Viserys isn't an asshole. At least he's no near much of a prick as he is in the main story. Right. Dany is still just Danny. Viserys probably actually knows how to fight with a sword. Because assumedly Dane would teach him. Uh, actually, I mean, Varys probably still know where they are. There's a good chance that Varys would still have them followed, you know. But would Jorah be with them is also a question.
Well,
because they need a spy.
Varys still needs a spy.
Would Arthur trust Jorah is really the question. Well, I guess Arthur's pretending not to be Arthur Dane, so they might accept him as like, oh, you're from our homeland because this guy clearly isn't. So maybe Jorah. We'll say Jorah goes with them. Does Jorah still fall in love with Dany? Also interesting. Maybe he does. Would Arthur allow that at all? Definitely not. But maybe this creepy bald
It'll be harder because Jorah won't be Dany. Like Jorah won't be Dany's protector. Arthur will be Dany's protector.
Jorah would just be like,
because Arthur would not let, like, king or not, Arthur's too nice of a guy to let fucking Viserys abuse her.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I'd say.
I mean, he allowed Aerys to abuse his wife because Aerys was the king, but Viserys is not the king. Jon is the king.
Well, and also
Aegon, Jon is the king
because he didn't have anything he could do. He can do something in this situation. You can tell, hey, Viserys, quit fucking messing with your sister.
Yeah. So that means no dragons.
No dragons. Yeah, probably.
Illyrio, unless Viserys still has Illyrio give the dragon eggs to Dany, but the eggs only hatch because of magic. So if that magic never happens, then Dany never gets dragons. It goes bald, which means their invasion will be a lot harder. It'll probably be just another rebellion, basically, with Westerosi lords. We have to assume we can assume that Jon lives up until at least the Red Wedding, right? Well, that's where it's like weird.
Yeah.
Because if Jon dies at the Red Wedding, that's fucked.
Well, okay, here's the thing. People did survive the Red Wedding. People were captured and whatnot. And I think if Gerald and Went thought that Jon was going to be in danger, they'd probably leave.
Yeah. I'm going to say if Red Wedding happens, at least one of them's going to die. And if I have to be realistic, it's probably Gerald Hightower. Just because he's the oldest.
Yeah. Went, like, run out, you got to escape.
Yeah, take Jon, get out of here.
Would they tell Jon he's the heir at this point?
Probably. They probably either will tell him or have told him at some point.
Alright, because if they do that, then will they like, okay, let's go to Essos with fucking, like, Ned can't protect him anymore. It's our prerogative. Let's go to fucking Essos.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Because it's like when they get off, right? When it's like, my family at Harrenhal is dead. We can't go there. Well, actually, do you think Went would be sent? Do you think they might be sent to take Harrenhal with Roose?
Well, if they were...
Well, think of it this way, right? If they're sent to go take Harrenhal, they're either killed by Roose, right? Or they're sent, or now they're killed. They're not killed by Roose, right? They're killed in the battle. Or imagine, right? They get sent to the Duskendale trap, and then they run into Randall Tarley, who is a fierce Targaryen loyalist.
That is actually interesting. It's like, I think Randall Tarley would recognize Kings.
I feel like Randall Tarley could at least recognize Gerald Hightower.
Yeah, because
or Oswald
both Reachmen.
They're both, well, Went's a Riverlander, but
I know, but I mean Hightower and Tarley.
And Tarley has probably seen the Kingsguard before. So
yeah,
if let's go with that because the Red Wedding is a lot harder to do from there, right?
Right, because it's just either he dies or he somehow escapes and probably gets captured, or
Yeah.
just killed because he's just he's a guy.
He's
He's
just a
just a
prick.
guy. Yeah.
So
Um.
make it more interesting. Give Randall Tarley some stuff to do, right?
Right.
Oswald went Gerald Hightower, John, right? They go to the trap at Duskingdale. They are able to defend. They surrender. They don't get executed. And then, Gerald manages to, he convinces a guard to talk to Randall or whatnot. Or Randall's looking over the troops and he's like, hey, psst, Randall, Randall, it's your buddy, Gerald Hightower.
It's me, Gerald Hightower.
And Randall's like, what the fuck are you doing in Westeros? Or what the fuck are you
How
doing?
are you alive?
How are you not 6 feet under right now? Kind of thing. And, Gerald probably swore to secrecy, but it's like, this is the easiest way for me to get in, John safe, right? Being a random prick in the Northman army isn't that good, right? So he talks to Randall Tarley, and Randall Tarley is like, shit, because he's a Targaryen supporter. So one can argue that he would continue to be a Targaryen loyalist. We're going to assume that he would continue being a Targaryen loyalist, and it's like, okay, let's get you back to fucking what is Hornhill? Yeah, let's get back to Hornhill.
I think Tarley could convince them, like, okay, let's go to Hornhill. Like,
yeah. If you want to be safe, we're in the Reach, not touched at all. I'll send, I'm gonna go send you to get, be a van or something. I don't know. Go to Hornhill, or maybe they go to King's Landing, but probably Hornhill, and then they could sit there for a bit. Assuming that is a good place for them.
that's later in the war. Let's go back to Dany and Viserys. Though I don't know how much they'd be doing, right? Because he meets Illyrio, like they meet Illyrio, and they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna sponsor you. Oh, we could sell Dany to this warlord," and Arthur Dayne would immediately be like, "No, we're not doing that." And Illyrio may, try to have him killed because if he's around, he may not let the marriage happen, right?
On the other
So
hand, Arthur might see the benefit of getting the Dothraki on side.
That's true. And he might want to go with Dany, kind of like Jorah went with Dany. I could see Jorah still being there, right? So they're both there. Viserys is not like on a high horse right now, right? Because he doesn't think he's king if he was told about Aegon. But if he wasn't told about Aegon, what would Illyrio have to say about that? Right? Because he's like, "Oh, you're the king," and he's like, would he go along with it? Like, "Yeah, I'm the king," or would he be like, "No"?
If he was told about it, he'd be like, Arthur would be like, yeah, just pretend you're the king, man. Just pretend. Okay, we need you to pretend so they don't know. Yeah, I'm the king. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So he goes along with it, but he doesn't have the actual legitimacy in his mind, nor
He's
does
just
he have
pretending.
his life was not nearly as bad as it could have been.
Yeah.
Right. I imagine at some point that Illyrio would be like, "Oh, I can sponsor you guys, whatever," because it's like they were in Bravos, right, this whole time, until they went to, like, they went from city to city, begging on the streets and such.
If you believe a good theory by Indie Geek, then they were in the Sea Lord of Bravos Palace because that's the only place a lemon tree could theoretically grow in Bravos.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Yeah. Either way, they were posted in Bravos for a while, and then they left because they got all their money stolen. But
Except
in
for they
this
didn't get
timeline,
this money stolen. They'd still leave probably, but
yeah,
their money would still be theirs.
I imagine they'd leave eventually. Like, it's just gonna happen.
Fucking, we can have, we'll just say, to make it easier on ourselves. Daenerys is still married to Khal Drogo. I have if Daenerys is still married to Khal Drogo, right? I'm going to assume most of the events that happen will happen anyway.
Right.
which means Khal Drogo will still, die. Just the only difference is the whole thing's gonna happen. Arthur Dayne's there, and Jorah's there, and Viserys is not dead. So they try to kill Dany or Viserys or whatever. They'll probably try to kill. I don't know if they would try to kill Dany though, because Viserys is still alive.
Well, because they tried to kill Viserys because he was. I mean, they wanted both of them dead. Whoever was the poisoner, Varys or not.
They learn she's pregnant. They're like, we don't want more dragons than we have to deal with.
Yeah, we can't have more Targaryens. Like, they probably. I imagine it still failed because instead of just having one protector, she's got two now, and Jorah was able to stop it pretty quickly. So the poisoning doesn't happen.
So fucking, Khal is still like, hey, fuck those Westerosi guys. They just tried to kill my fucking wife, and then he still gets killed by that one person.
Because he refuses to get proper medical treatment.
Yeah, he still gets, he still dies. Maybe Arthur still, or Dany maybe still tries to burn herself. Dragons happen.
Yeah. We could say that could probably still happen.
Right?
I could see Arthur being resigned to, like, I don't know. Maybe Dany would have to convince him to go find something.
Well, so the reason that she didn't burn to death was because of. Right, as far as I know, right, the reason she didn't burn with us is Mirror Master, right? But do you think the dragon egg still would have hatched regardless?
I think they hatched because of Miri's magic. So if Drogo and Rhaego still die, I still think that the dragons will be hatched.
Which would be funny, because that means Viserys would also have a dragon.
Yes, that means we have two dragon riders.
I mean, the dragon is so young at this point. And then, in the back of Arthur's head, he's going to be like, we got a third dragon rider. I know where he is.
Dragon,
and this is
got a third.
This is it. This is the three heads of the dragon. This is what Rhaegar was telling me about.
Yeah, he'd be like super into it at this point.
He'd be like, oh, fuck. My best friend, he was right this whole time.
Was real. Also, I feel like Dany could probably convince him to not rescue her from the flames if he wasn't convinced to leave, because he did stay at the Tower of the Joy and was unfortunately not there to protect Rhaegar when he died. I can see Arthur Dayne, his unshakable loyalty.
So funny stuff. Two dragon riders. Viserys is not a prick. Illyrio and Varys are probably shitting themselves.
Yeah, I can imagine they'd not have a great time.
They're like, we need to. If it's a Pisswater Prince, they're basically fucked because there's no way Aegon could claim a dragon, right? I'm going to assume, based on the story, he has some dragon blood in him, which means they might finally say something to Arthur.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, Arthur. So we haven't told you this in a while, right? We actually have Aegon, Aegon Targaryen, son of Rhaegar, with us. You want to come, check him out? And I mean, at this point, he'd be grown up enough where there's probably not a chance that Dane could really know one way or another for sure, right? It's just basically how he believes. And then, if you want to believe some of the other theories, he possibly has the king, the crown of the conqueror. They possibly have Blackfire. So that would be a very interesting thing going on. Again, power only resides where men believe it resides. So then we can go to fucking. Well, we have two dragon riders now, which is insane. Robert's gonna be. Well, I guess Robert doesn't live long enough.
Robert's probably dead by now.
Yeah, Robert's dead.
I don't know. I don't see why that would change. I think Robert would still be dead.
Yeah, Robert dead as hell. Varys might be like, this can work out. Three heads of the dragon. He could definitely heard it too, because he was around when Rhaegar was around, so he's definitely heard about that stuff. The real thing that is different up until this point, right? So we can assume Oswald, Gerald, or at least Oswald and Jon Snow are at Thornhill. Maybe Gerald Hightower, right? Fucking. The Red Wedding still happens, whatnot. So this is like the seeding. I don't think Dany would go on her. Do you think they would go on their city crusade or not? I doubt it.
I think Dany did that of her own fruition.
If
At this point, the Khalasar may be still reduced like it was, but
I,
Dane.
I think Khalasar is definitely reduced. To make it simpler for us, let's say they go work with Aegon cause now.
I. Hmm. If Illyrio and Varys revealed that too, yes, I imagine. I imagine Dane would be pissed. For one, if they did reveal it to Dane that the Aegon cause was a thing, we could make it simpler and just fold them into each other because like Viserys is still alive, Dany's still alive, Khalasar's reduced. That plan is kind of
So the Khalasar reduce is just joins with the Golden Company, and they have their army, right?
right.
Because Aegon invades with just the Golden Company anyway.
Yeah, but now he'll have 3 dragons.
3 Targaryens, supposedly. Probably a Blackfire and 2 Targaryens.
I feel like Arthur Dane, because Barristan would be here, right? Like it would have been revealed. Like Barristan.
Yes, Barristan would show up, and Arthur would be like,
"Yo,
the fuck you doing here?" And Barristan would be like, "What the fuck are you doing here?
What are you doing here?" So
Arson Weisbeard would have showed up with fucking Strong Belwas.
It'd be really, really good for. First of all, Barristan couldn't hide himself because Dane is there and he'll immediately recognize him.
And Dane couldn't hide himself anymore. I mean, he probably
everyone. He probably hasn't hidden himself from Dany and Viserys this whole time, but he can't. He can't hide himself from Barristan. Yeah. I imagine that
they probably both have to agree to stay in character just for.
I think Varys and Illyrio would no, but here's the thing. I think Varys and Illyrio would want them to break character because, like, the legitimacy of Aegon would be through the fucking roof at this point. 2 of the most legendary swordsmen ever, dragons, and 3 Targaryens. That's like, I mean, what more could you want? That's like Aegon the Conqueror.
And also potentially the sword of the Conqueror, the crown of the Conqueror, 3 dragons, 3 Targaryens.
The Crown of the Conqueror is probably still in Dorne, but still the Sword of the Conqueror.
Chance, right? And then we think about it this way, right? Whatever, right? Duran still has his marriage pact because Viserys is still alive. So Arianne won't be queen, but they'll still be in the fold, basically.
Right.
Duran will be like his friend. Oberyn's still dead, unfortunately. All that stuff still probably plays out exactly the same. Because this Kingsguard stuff doesn't change anything in King's Landing, basically.
No, it could only serve to make people more worried.
Yeah. So none of that changes. Fucking Duran's probably still talking with Varys and the Aegon cause. So since Viserys still alive, he doesn't send Quentyn to Essos because there's no reason.
Yeah.
He already got 1 marriage. He doesn't need another. That means we have Jon open for marriage pacts because Dane would tell, like, once he, is convinced that it's Aegon, right? Potentially he'll tell Varys. He's like, hey, his brother's also still alive.
It's his younger brother. It's not a threat to legitimacy. It's just like
his younger brother is still alive. So we got another marriage potential.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's 4 Targaryens, 3 dragons. So if one of the Targaryens dies, still another Targaryen to claim another dragon. But I'm assuming they wouldn't. I'm going to assume they wouldn't reveal anything because the only reason the word of the dragon spread is because Daenerys kept fucking around.
That's true.
If Varys finds out that they have dragons from Jorah, or not, from Illyrio, from someone, right? Varys and fucking Illyrio didn't want their plan revealed that much, right? That's why Aegon wasn't even supposed to invade when he did. He was supposed to invade later because they were probably prepared, right? So they're gonna continue being prepared. Fucking, they might all just hang out with the Golden Company, or maybe fucking Viserys and Dany joins, Fagon on the Shy Maid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then it'll be also Jon Con and Arthur Dane reunion time.
Yeah, that's true.
So there'd be the potentially, right? There's like a small group of of Kalasari, right? Probably not a lot. There's like, what is it? There's 3 Blood Riders and like 4 servants or something that stay. So like
Right.
7
Well, here's the thing, right?
Dothraki, 2 Kingsguard, strong Belwas, Danny Viserys, 3 dragons, John Con, Halvin Halfmaester, Drinkwater, Septa Lemore, and that's it, I think.
Uh, yeah, that is a. I mean, there's a lot. The Aegon plot has gotten really interesting in this case because it's like Tywin would know it's not just. First of all, Tywin's kind of sexist, so when he hears that Dany, whatever, in its situation, he kind of brushes it off, sort of like Robert did,
Well,
right?
I don't think
But
he would hear about it at this case because why would Varys tell him?
that's true. I
Varys
don't think
told
he'd
him
hear about.
because Danny was doing because there was already a bunch of rumors about dragons, and he probably figured that Tywin's already heard some. I don't even think Tywin learns from Varys. I think he learns from talk. But if Danny isn't traveling around, who the fuck would know about the dragons? No one. So then one day randomly the Golden Company shows up with 3 fucking dragons and dragon riders. They'd be like, "Oh shit." That would be much later though, because I don't think Aegon would invade as fast. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
We go back to the wall. We probably have to go through the wall now. The wall is going to be the second most changed plot line besides the Aegon plot. Is definitely
Right.
the wall, because the wall. Sam is either just a steward, he's just dead, whatever. Um, that means they never find the whites outside by the heart tree because Ghost isn't there. Oh fuck, we have to talk about Ghost and the direwolves. They don't get direwolves
Because John doesn't convince them.
because John doesn't convince them.
Hmm.
Unless John just happened to be in the retinue. It's like, hey,
Your house. You
it's your
should take him.
house. Okay, to make it easier for ourselves, let's just say he was there in the retinue as one of the guards, and he's like, Lord Stark, these are for you guys. And then Lord Stark's like, well, that last one can be yours because he knows that he's Liara's son, but no one else knows.
Yeah. Okay. That can still work out.
So this can still work out. John just has Ghost with him, which would be really funny because Rob would be like, "Oh, look, it's that other guy who has a direwolf for some reason."
Yeah.
Anyway. So we're gonna go through that because it's a lot easier and we don't have to do as much work. So Ghost, Ghost, John, Oswald Went, Gerald Hightower, they're all at Hornhill. Anyway, the wall, right? So Ghost never finds Uthor Flowers and the other guy. So that means fucking they never find the whites, which means that one guy who was with that one dude doesn't get killed who was whites. Undead. Who is the guy who was with? This is not that important, but it's whites. WIGHT white. Recent events. Yeah, Jeremy Rykar, and 5 of the Castle Black men don't get killed.
Right.
Or the Jeremy Riker and the 4 other guys don't get killed. Jeremy Riker was. I don't know what he was. He was a. Yeah, First Ranger. So Jeremy Riker is still First Ranger. As the acting First Ranger. So he doesn't get killed by the whites. So they don't know anything about the whites, which means the Great Ranging never happens.
Yes, because Gior is probably killed by a white as well.
Well, no, because the whites never get brought in.
Oh yeah, because Sam never argues that they should be researched. People are just like, oh, they were killed.
Well, not only that is they don't even find them because they were by the heart tree, and the only reason they were found is because Ghost found them.
Ghost went off and found a hand. Yeah, you're right.
So even if none of those recruits wanted to get a heart tree anyway, because no one else was from the north. So then everyone went out to the heart tree, which means they don't know what happened to Uthor or Jaffer. Um, Jaffer Flowers or Uthor, neither of them are ever, you know, put back inside. Uh, so fucking the Great Ranging never happens, which means uh, the and since the Great Ranging never happens, fucking what's his face? J.R. Mormont's never killed at Crasher's Keep. Gilly's baby gets sacrificed to the others, which means the others never attack. If you want to go by the theory that the reason they attacked the Fist because of Gilly's, or no, Gilly's baby, that wasn't really to do with it. They were on the way.
Well, they wouldn't have attacked the Fist anyway
because there's no one at the Fist.
There's no Rangers there, yeah.
So if the Wildlings still attack, like what are they gonna do?
John,
because they're still
would not be there.
They didn't lose 200 men during the Great Ranging though.
That's true, but yeah, John wouldn't be there to tell them about the people behind them. Though.
Well, yeah, but still, like, how much is that? That small force was only able to do that much because there was only like 12 guys defending Castle Black.
They'd probably send out people to kill them while they were, they could send out 20 men and still be good enough to hunt them, right?
Well, it wasn't that. I mean, it wasn't that small, but like they hear about Molestown being attacked because the Molestown refugees would be there, right?
Right.
And then it's like, okay, so fucking
send out some guys. We still got a lot to spare. That's true.
Or just defend against them. Yeah, send out some guys. Call the North. They won't respond.
Well, I mean, I think they'd probably want them to kill them, right? Because the whole plan is to not. The whole plan is to lure Rangers away, which would be successful, but it wouldn't be as successful. Yeah. The idea is to lure Rangers away, kill them, and then come attack while the other attack is happening. Because Castle Black is designed to be attacked from the wall.
Yeah, right? I'm going to assume that the Wildlings do not get through the wall, which means Mance would want to blow the Horn of Winter, right? I don't think the Horn of Winter does what they think it does. I don't think it's going to break the wall. I don't think it's the real Horn of Winter.
Well, would they even find it? Because they don't go in the Great Ranging, right? And they don't find the Dragon Glass and Horn without Ghost.
No, I know. That is the one I think is actually the Horn of Winter. The one that Mance has that he says is the Horn of Winter. Do you think he blows it and is like, oh shit, that didn't work?
I don't think so. I think because he still's got like the numbers advantage, right? I feel like he'd still attack, lose or win. I think that plot would probably end the same, where Stannis shows up and ends it. I don't know if he would spare Mance because he didn't want to, and that was with John's counsel.
Well, I mean, he did spare Mance though because Melisandre told him to.
Oh, that's true. He might still spare Mance then. He'll still burn Rattleshirt though. I think that.
How does Bran get through the wall?
That is a good question. I don't think he's
not there.
I don't know if he would.
Maybe because
there'd be more people at Castle Black, and none of them know.
Well, it's the Night's Fort.
Oh, that's fair. But it's there's still more people till because they did grab some people from Eastwatch and from.
Well, they only did that before the Great Ranging.
I know, but like that means the wall has more manning, not less.
Well, I know, but no one's at the Night's Fort, so it doesn't matter. Who's gonna open the gate?
I guess they'd have to go. They'd have to go around, like to Eastwatch or to the Shadow Tower, or try getting through Castle Black. But I don't think they'd be let through Castle Black.
Why the fuck do you guys want to go through the fucking wall?
Why would you want to leave? Yeah. Why do you want to go?
Why does this child want to go through the wall? That is a potential. Oh my god!
What?
What if Bran, Mira, and Jojo run into Stannis?
Uh-oh. That's interesting.
Because then Stannis would want to raise Bran to Lord of Winterfell. And potentially marry him to Val without his consent.
Yeah.
To get the Wildlings on side. That is a potential.
That is a potential. Because you don't have Jon peacekeeping. Right? You'd have to find some other way to get the Wildlings to help him, right?
He sees Val as
It was Jon's idea to marry the Karstark lady to the
Yeah,
Magnar.
Alice Karstark won't get married to the Magnar then. That means also Stannis doesn't know about the Karstark betrayal.
Well, I think Alice. Because Alice probably wouldn't ride there because Alice rode there because John was there.
Oh, but she might ride there because of Bran.
If he learns about Bran, it just depends on the timing, right? Because they knew John was Lord Commander there, or at least serving on the wall. But I don't know if they would learn that Bran was there unless Stannis was like, I
Maybe
have the Lord
Bran.
Commander
Maybe Stannis will marry Alice to Bran.
Yeah, if she shows up there. Again, it's more or less just so people know Bran is there. Because because everyone thinks Bran is dead, right? But if Stannis throws messages, I got Bran here. Like, there's no other wheelchair.
And the Boltons might be like, fuck, he has.
He's got Bran, which means our Arya plan is out the fucking window.
That also means all the Northern Lords also don't like me.
I mean, they don't have to. They don't have to openly support. I mean, some of them will probably openly support while secretly not supporting.
I know, but if they know, if it's common knowledge that Bran is still alive, at least in the North,
I can see Stannis saying that out because like the Bolton's big thing is like, oh, we're legitimate because we've got Arya, but it's not actually Arya.
Sansa's disinherited because she killed the king, and
yeah, it's like this is fucking. This is Bran, right? Without a shadow of doubt. Like, oh, where's Rickon? And he's like, oh, he's on Skagos. And Stannis will probably go grab fucking Rickon.
Yeah, well, Manderley kind of said, hey, Stannis, you got Bran? I got Rickon. You want to grab him?
Yeah, right. I feel like that would be interesting for sure. That's only if Stannis is the kind of man to say that stuff out loud. He might have to convince Melisandre not to kill Bran because
Bran doesn't have King's blood. He's a brother of a king.
Bran would be the inheritor of Robb's will. Because Robb's will.
That would make he would technically be.
That would make him. He would be king in the north. So Melisandre would be like, "Hey, we got two Stark boys. You should burn one. It's either that or you should burn Shireen." And he's like,
"Yeah, but at this point, Stannis is always like, no, I'm not burning kings.
Yeah,
I'm not burning people because they have King's blood. Because this isn't show Stannis. This is book Stannis."
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that definitely having Bran to rally behind is pretty important.
Okay. I guess we can go back to John. He's gonna sit in Horn Hill for a bit. They might leave the Reach upon hearing that what's his name? Euron is attacking the Oak Shields or the Shield Islands. Where is how far away is Horn Hill? I'll hold Starfall. Why does this map not have Horn Hill? Do you not know where Horn Hill is? Okay. Yeah, Horn Hill is actually kind of close to the Shield Isles. Like, it's not as close as Highgarden, but it's... Here, I'll send you the picture. I don't know. I don't know if they would want us to keep him around. It's kind of close.
What, John to Old Town?
Yeah.
Or Gerald, technically, to Old Town. I mean, at this point, the cat's out of the bag, right?
Well,
because Jaime may have recognized him.
Well,
Randall Tarley's recognized
Jaime, we're not doing the Jaime thing. That's not gonna happen.
All right. Well, yeah.
It'd be Randall Tarley, maybe some of Randall Tarley's men. Probably just Randall Tarley, to be fair.
Yeah. Well,
maybe Dickon Tarley.
Yeah. Well, Dickon's never seen his face, but I imagine Randall wants Dickon to be his heir, so he'd probably tell him, like, "Hey, this is fucking Kingsguard. This is like serious." And Randall's always been resentful of the Tyrells, so he's like, "I could support your Targaryen restoration. Just make me Lord of Highgarden."
That sounds like something Randall might do.
Yeah,
especially because he's a lot more competent than Mace.
It's definitely the best commander in the Reach, right? Because he did all the stuff that he was the one in charge of the siege of Storm's End, and Mace just showed up and got all the credit for it.
Randall's like, hey, you need to. I want to get some support, right? Some Lord support. I know, there's probably some peaks around here who'd join you.
Yeah, I think the Renly plot, obviously, the Renly plot and the
It's the same. All the other
Stannis
plot's
plot
the
up
same.
until that time, yeah, it's all the same, right? We can, I know we didn't say it directly, but it's sort of just implied. Um, Aegon landing in Westeros with 3 fully grown dragons and 2 people who can probably ride them, that's a thinker.
Three people.
Well, no, because he, I guess they could try get Aegon on a dragon.
I mean, if they're still
I
young,
guess,
if they bond while they're young, they'll find out, right? If Aegon doesn't get accepted by the dragon, then he's not. But we're gonna have to assume that because of his blood, he gets accepted by the dragon.
I was thinking more or less that Dany would show up. I guess it just depends on how fast Illyrio and Varys would want to put the dragon riders into the fold.
See,
right? Because if it's,
I'm gonna think it depends, right? Because he might still kill Kevin. Um, does he want to make sure the dragons? Does he want to make sure? Does he want to?
He would still want to kill Kevin. Absolutely.
Yeah, but does he want to make sure that they can control their dragons before he starts the invasion?
I imagine that would be a priority, right? I don't think the invasion happens any earlier. I think
it happens later, if anything.
Well, no, because Dany's dragons are like she's flying on them at this point, right?
Yeah, but she has trouble controlling them, and that is partly due to her nature. If she's like disciplined more, they might be easier to rear. I guess that is a possibility. We'll have to go with that just to make it easier for this.
Right.
Fucking.
Oh, we also have to mention the fact that Dany never gets the second sons, never meets Dario. Right.
Yeah. Well, so here's
she never.
If let's say this, right?
She never a reason to invade a city. She's like, we're in a low spot, but I got dragons. Then we get picked up by Illyrio probably after. What's this be called? The one with the sorcerers.
Karth?
Karth, yeah. Probably after the Karth situation, I'd say, is the most likely time that they get rolled into it. Because the dragons are still young, and the Khalasar can move, properly again.
I thought Karth happened after Drogo died.
It did. No, what I'm saying is, because the Khalasar gets fucked up after Drogo dies. A lot of people leave, and they're on the back foot, and then they find Karth, and then they do all the thing with the House Sorcerer. She gets her visions in the tower, and then she leaves. Or are we assuming that they get rolled in immediately?
I was assuming they got rolled in immediately. I mean, it doesn't really change that much either way.
Well, because here's the thing. It really just depends on how much stock Varys and Illyrio put in having another Targaryen.
Which is probably a lot. I mean, in my opinion, they're going to want to marry... And then even Aegon, at this point, right? Dany and Aegon. Well, Arthur's going to want to marry...
Marrying Dany and Aegon is if he's a Blackfire or a Brightflame, that's the penultimate move, right? Because it's the royal line is now Blackfires.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, right, Drake?
Because Jon isn't the heir yet. Yeah. Jon is only the heir if Aegon dies, or is proven to not be.
Which, if he bonds with the dragon, it's going to be pretty fucking hard to prove that he's not, right?
Yeah.
But I will say this, right, Drake? One, everyone believes the Blackfires are dead, so they'll never have to say anything. It's a promise me fucking Illyrio. Don't tell me, don't say anything, right? Dany. Well, Arthur is gonna want to marry Dany to Aegon if he learns about Aegon. So I have a feeling it's going to be. I don't think it's a Karth thing. I don't think Karth Evans, honestly. But if it does, it doesn't really matter that much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm also curious about the potential for Arthur's split loyalty, right? Because did Rhaegar say, "I want Jon to be my heir, not"?
Well, I don't think he ever said that. I think he just said, "I want my child to be safe."
That's probably the most exactly. But if Jon,
I don't know if Aegon would. I don't know if Rhaegar would disinherit his son.
If Jon is the super prophecy baby, also we have to consider the whole genetic dragon rider gene theory, and that the reason that Bloodraven was so anti-Blackfire was that their genes didn't carry the ability to ride dragons because they couldn't test it because they were all dead. Right? Maybe he thought that the special lineage had to be continued.
I don't know. I thought it was just. I thought it was.
Rhaegar thought the royal lineage was him, so
I gotta say it just depends, because if we go with the idea that fucking Aegon doesn't get a dragon, that Arthur's probably not gonna think that he's a dragon. He's not a Targaryen, right? If he can't get a dragon, because according to them, for the most part, they just know Targaryen equals dragon right? And if this Targaryen can't ride a dragon, then he's not a Targaryen.
No, I'm not saying like. I think that would be Blood Raven's whole spiel. I don't know if Dane or I'm just trying to see if Blood Raven would intervene at all because we don't know how powerful his magic is. It's like all assumptions. Like is Quaith Shiera Sea Star that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, honestly, since we know nothing about Bloodraven, we're just going to have to assume he killed the Blackfires because he hated Bitterstone. Like that's literally the most evidence we know. Like that is for motivation wise. Like he wanted to continue the Targaryen line. There was nothing we could really know anything about that.
That's fair. That's fair.
We're just gonna have to go on the assumption he just didn't like Blackfires specifically.
So yeah, I guess the Dany plot will wait until they think they're ready. So maybe they'll land around the same time.
Or maybe later. I would say there's no way they're doing it earlier. Maybe just later. But basically, whenever they can confidently control their dragons, I think is they're gonna invade.
All right. Well, what do you think will happen up until they land?
Well, there is another potential that I was gonna say. Right, Horn Hill. He went really close to Horn Hill.
Yeah, like when they land.
Old Town.
That would be the perfect time for Randall to switch sides and be like, "Hey, I got your."
But there is a potential that they go with 4 Targaryens, and what is that? 4 Kingsguard members. Because what if Randall, or what if Gerald decides, "Hey, my nephew is the ruler of Old Town. Let's go give him a visit."
Oh.
Let's go get my nephew to send us a boat over to Essos so we can meet up with, his relatives. Because anywhere's safer than being in
Reach.
but
then they'd think he was in Bravos. Because right now, Aegon lands from the disputed lands, right? Not Bravos?
I think he goes from the disputed. I don't know.
Where the Golden Company was.
Golden Company. History, recent events, Dance with Dragons. Voluntaris. Where's Voluntaris? They're by Volantis, so on the other end of Essos.
Okay, so yeah.
Maybe not.
I think Gerald would be not very helpful with his bad information.
No. And unfortunately, Aemon's just gonna die up at the wall.
Yeah.
Really sad. He probably won't live long. Actually, no, because it is implied that old age plus the fact that they were on a fucking boat, which is the reason Aemon died. So Aemon might live long enough to hear that the Targaryens are invading. It's like, yes, and then dies.
Yeah. Save, change the world.
My final message. Goodbye. So whether they go to Old Town because of Gerald's nephew, I don't know how close Gerald is with his nephew, so maybe not. That was just a nice idea, but probably not's gonna happen. The Mad Maid's over there too; they can just hang out. Everything's gonna go the same up until the end of the books, right?
Probably until the invasion, I imagine.
Yeah, the invasion happens.
Let's just say
also, right?
Right.
Fucking does Jon Con get grayscale in this situation?
If Tyrion still gets sent over, I think Jon Con would still get grayscale. Unless, of course, their plans get pushed way forward by the arrival of everyone else. Right?
Because, does the Shy Maid still go through Old Valyria, right? Or, not Old Valyria, of Old...
also, you have to think about if Arthur Dayne is there, right?
Yeah, not Valyria, it's the city, it's the fucking festival city is what I meant.
If Arthur Dayne is on that ship, that's just like another sword, and having the best sword in Westeros to help you is probably
Arthur Dayne and Barristan would be on there, and Strong Belwas.
Yeah, I don't think Tyrion would get knocked in the water. I don't think the Grey Men would have had much of a chance. They barely had a chance when it first happened. I don't think they have much of a chance now. I
Yeah,
don't
no.
know. I don't think Jon Con would get grayscale. I don't think Tyrion would ever get knocked in the water
Yeah.
because it's just more people,
Yeah, it's just more people.
more very skilled people, for that matter. Maybe Belwas might get grayscale because he lets people cut him before he kills them.
Yeah, I don't think Belwas wants to fuck with Greyman though. I don't think Belwas is that stupid.
I guess that's fair. Yeah, he's probably not that dumb.
Um, they might have to like hold him back, like, "Hey, go downstairs. We don't want you fighting these Greymen. If you get caught, we're gonna have to fucking kill you."
Yeah, or disown you. Or
We definitely don't want this fucking strong Belwas dude covered head to toe in pure muscle to get grayscale and start fighting people. That would be
Yeah, that would not be good.
Uh, they might get a bigger boat than the Shy Maid because I think the Shy Maid's kind of small, which means they might take a different route, which means they might not even go to under the Bridge of Dreams.
Yeah, maybe.
So there's all that. Yeah, I guess we're gonna assume that John, Oswald, Gerald, they stay.
They stay there until it lands, and then probably I imagine Randy would see this as his
Randy Tarl.
Yeah, good old Randy.
Randy Tarl.
Yeah, Randy Tarl, because like he's got on a good authority that he's got 2 Kingsguard here who are thought dead, and
telling him that this is a fucking Targaryen.
And why would he was a Rhaegarlian, and why would he? This is Rhaegar's son, and why would he disbelieve 2 of Rhaegar's greatest supporters?
Yeah.
So it's like bastard son or no, this is a son.
So, in this case, right? They might not invade the way they did before. So, because normally what they did is they invaded on like, what is it?
They invaded Storm's End. They were sieging Storm's End, and they invaded the Storm's End.
It was Evefall Hall, Storm's End, Greenstone. They even were up at what is it? Where's the Connington's place? So like the Vale, because they went all up and down, right? Instead, what they might do is they might go through the Stepstones and or not even the Stepstones. They might go through the Dorne. They might go through Dorne.
The Arm of Dorne. If they do, because like remember we've got Quentin plot as well.
They get there, right? Viserys marries.
No, Quentin plot wouldn't happen because Dorne wouldn't hear about them. Yeah.
So Viserys marries Arianne.
Right.
Yeah. And since
if Dany and Aegon are wed, Viserys could marry Arianne.
Yeah. And that means there'd be another Kingsguard. They'd have Marcella. They'd have Aerys Oakheart because Eric Oakheart would have never died because Arya never does her stupid plot because Quentin isn't seen as the person who's going to be usurping her. Because she only does that plot because Doran
she thinks Doran is trying to get Quentin as his heir. Right.
Yeah. And she only does the plot because Doran sends Quentin away and she's like, alright, that's it. They're doing more sneaky shit.
That also means Missel never gets cut by Gerald Dane.
Yeah, Gerald Dane. Ashara is possibly still alive, probably married.
Would Arthur Dane take back up Dawn at this point?
If he lands, I mean, no one has the sword, so it's not like he's taking.
Still the sword of the morning, unless Gerald steals it.
He'd come back and be like, not even a speck of dust. Back where you belong, baby.
That would be cool. And if the theory goes that because that Dorne has Aegon's crown, right? They'd probably give it to Aegon.
They'd crown him, and if Illyrio has Blackfire, right? Aegon would be crowned with the Conqueror's crown.
Now he's literally the Conqueror.
Conqueror's crown, Conqueror's sword, 3 dragons, 3 dragon riders, and an army behind him because he'd have the army of Dorne. The fucking Sand Snakes be elated because they're like, oh, we can finally get revenge.
Golden Company.
They have Marcella, so they have leverage against Cersei.
They've got a Lannister hostage, yeah.
I mean, if they still go through it, Trystane and Marcella would be married, so the Lannisters would actually have a reason to assist.
Well, no, I mean, see, maybe the Lannisters proper. I think that like the whole Marcella. I don't think they'd crown Marcella queen.
No, they wouldn't,
because that was Elaine's plot. But they could say Marcella is.
Did you say Elaine?
Yeah, sorry.
You mean Arianne? Elaine Stone is the Sansa name, Dre.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking of Sansa's
plot. They'd say, hey, Marcella is the heir to
Casterly
Castle
Rock.
Rock. Uh, Tommen is a usurper on the throne.
Yeah, because
Cersei
like
is going to be like,
The Baratheon claim is Anal, the bastardy or no.
yeah, the bastard part literally doesn't even matter to them.
Exactly. Because they're Dorne. I mean, the incest part might matter, but the bastardy part doesn't matter. So, like, they could probably say, rumors aside, they're usurpers. Targaryens are back, baby. We got dragons this time.
I gotta learn, when did Aerys Oakheart
die?
No, not die. I want to figure out
when he got there.
When he became Kingsguard.
I don't know. He definitely doesn't know Arthur Dayne.
No, he doesn't. He probably knows of Arthur Dayne. And imagine, right? Imagine you're Aerys Oakheart, right? You see a bunch of fucking. You see Barristan Selmy, right? Your Lord Commander, and you see fucking Arthur Dayne. You're gonna be like, what do you think he's gonna do? Do you think he's gonna join them? Do you think he's gonna probably protect Marcella? So as long as they promise Marcella's safety, he's probably just gonna continue to be her protector, right? Because that's what he was about.
Yeah, I don't know if they would disavow him from the Kingsguard.
I mean, they still need members of the Kingsguard.
They could probably respect it. Like, you may have been hired by a usurper, but Barristan was still let on. Let to stay on.
I don't imagine they do anything to Aerys. I think Aerys would be fine. We also that means Balon Swan never goes to Dorne.
Right. Yeah.
Or actually, Balon Swan still might go to Dorne. So then Balon Swan would also be in Dorne because he was sent there to bring the skull of the mountain to. Dorne, yeah. So they'd have Aerys Oakheart and Balon Swan.
Balon Swan is very, very much a Cersei man, though.
Balon Swan? No, dude. Balon Swan's like a. I'm a Balon Swan fan.
I might be thinking of the other guy.
It's Meryn Trant.
No, not Meryn Trant. There's a third guy. The one that's like joked about being a food taster.
Oh, fucking. Who the hell cares about him?
Yeah, it's not Mandon Moore because he's dead. I was thinking like the last guy. I guess who cares?
I don't remember his name, but he's no one cares.
Well,
Boris Blount.
Boris Blount, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, he's not there. But
Balon Swan is like Cersei thinks, or Jaime at least thinks that he's the only honorable member of the Kingsguard.
Yeah, and I imagine an honorable man like him would be like, or maybe he wouldn't. Maybe he'd be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I swore to a king. I got to protect him."
Maybe he will. Maybe I mean at worst, I don't see them killing him. I see them arresting him.
Probably.
Him and Aerys.
Unless Arthur Dayne is just like, you want to die fighting as a Kingsguard, I'll let you. And if they do a duel and Balon gets his ass kicked. But, that's less important.
So him and Aerys Oakheart are in Dorne, right? Balon Swan's sick in the capital.
Loras is at Dragonstone.
Potentially.
He's injured.
What is it? Schrodinger's Loras.
Schrodinger's Loras, yeah. Maybe Randall Tarley will hear about their landing, right? If they still land in a storm.
Well, they're in Horn Hill, right? So.
No, they're in Dorne now, yeah.
If they're in Horn Hill, Dorne is so fucking close. They might just stop at Starfall.
I mean, you can see Starfall from Horn Hill on this map.
They might just go to Starfall and like, okay. I mean, we heard about the landing. Arthur's gonna be here. Let's just wait here until he comes here. Arthur comes there. Then they have
Arthur will be elated. Arthur will be very happy to see Gerald Went still alive, as well as Jon.
Barristan would also be fucking astounded. His other two brothers are still alive.
I feel like Arthur Dayne would have said they were at least alive the last I saw them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he'd still be pretty happy, I think, right? This is I'm really liking this, right? So we have
this is fan fiction at this point, but let's keep going.
Balon, Aerys.
Because there's no
Barristan.
way if was writing this, it would go this well.
No. This is we're just going off the stuff we know. We don't know any extra information. If there's anything else that's going on. So Victarion would never go to fucking Marine. So
yes, Victarion would never go to Marine.
They might still raid the Shield Isles, but I don't see them. He won't. Victarion will still be with Euron.
I think Euron would be I think Euron would be his plan would be a bit in the ropes at this.
That means he never runs into That means Makoro dies in the middle of the ocean. Maybe.
Yes.
Depending on how Makoro
Probably.
is.
Unless Makoro gets sent somewhere else by R'hllor.
Yeah. Makoro might just, like, not go into the... Again, I slightly have a feeling that Makoro jumped into the ocean. And he survived for 5 days out in the middle of the ocean when he definitely should have died. So Makoro's weird, but we're just going to have to pretend like Makoro either doesn't fall overboard, which means he still goes to wherever, wherever the ship's taking him, whatnot. I don't know. Makoro's weird. You can just go do Makoro things. Victarion's still gonna hang around Euron. Don't know what Euron's gonna have him do, right? Maybe he'll have him run the Iron Island until he's gone. Who knows? That means Euron doesn't know about the dragons either, unless unless his Shade of the Evening has told him about it.
Yeah, and then they'll land, and he'll be like, "Fuck."
Well, okay, so that I guess we'll have to figure out: does Dany do the card things or not, right? Because if she does, then Euron has the sorcerers. If she doesn't, Euron doesn't have the sorcerers.
That's true.
And if he doesn't have the sorcerers, he can't do his sacrifices that he wants to do during the Battle of Blood.
I guess that just depends on whether or not Illyrio and Varys let them linger for a bit.
Yeah.
After.
I don't know how much it would actually change, but he'd have less Shade of the Evening, I guess.
Unless sorcerers to sacrifice, I don't know.
Yeah.
These plot's kind of weird. I don't think we'll be able to fully understand it until it happens.
Fucking Ironborn make no sense. That's always true. So yeah, we gotta think of it, right? Balon, Aerys, Barristan, Arthur, Gerald, Oswell. They have 6 Kingsguard with them.
Alright, and this is like, okay, so Tyrells, they've always been like big Targaryen supporters, right?
Well, they're whoever they think will give them the most.
Right. I think Randall will be wanting to gain this, but I also think that Tyrells will want to bend the knee. Because
Tyrells are linked to the king, though. You know?
Well, because, yeah, like, they're in charge right now, essentially. Because they got Cersei, who's, like, losing power in King's Landing.
Yeah, we have Marjorie, who's married to Tommen.
We've got Marjorie, who's married to Tommen.
And currently in prison by the High Septon.
Yeah, but I think Olenna could see this as a chance to save her children, because she could probably convince the High Sparrow, like, hey, it's a message from the Seven. We've got, it's just like
no, but do you think the High Sparrow would accept Targaryen incest?
That's a good point.
Because if we go back to Maegor the Cruel,
yeah, I mean,
Faith Militant hated. We might just get a repeat of what happened before.
Yeah.
That's a very George thing to do.
I imagine the Faith Militant would get stomped a bit easier this time, because right now the world is still reeling from a very, very disastrous civil war.
The others aren't marching. At least, I mean, because Craster is dead if you go by the Preston Jacobs shit.
Yeah.
They have no reason to attack the wall. What Stannis is like, if we go by the amazing Moonman theory, Stannis might be shaking in his britches right now.
Well, I mean, yeah, he doesn't have much to offer Aegon, right at this point. He could offer the North.
He could offer the North.
He's got Bran, probably gets Rickon.
If we're gonna do if we're just gonna finish this off with fan theory stuff, we're gonna have to just figure out the fates of the characters, right? So,
right.
I'm gonna say Alice Karstark is married to Bran. Bran gets installed as Lord of the North. Ramsay, Bruce, the half of the Karstarks, the Freys, they probably get fucked up a bit.
Aegon seems like a very honorable man. I can't imagine him letting the Red Wedding slide, even if it was.
Yeah, they're gonna
against a treasonous king.
They're gonna get definitely punished. Some people are gonna get executed. Maybe the whole Frey Civil War thing will happen. Who knows? Littlefinger, I see surrendering because Littlefinger does not know.
He's got Sansa, right?
And he doesn't know what to do with fucking dragons.
Yeah,
he's smart, but I don't know if Littlefinger is gonna be able to gaslight gatekeep girl bosses by getting burned alive from dragons. So he's probably gonna surrender.
Right.
Euron, I see trying to use the dragon horn.
Yeah,
Um,
so we'll have to see if that thing actually works.
but the thing is, I think the dragon horn is going to be tried to use against one of the unclaimed dragon riders or unclaimed dragons, right? Because Dany can't really claim all three. She's the
Right.
mother of them, but she was one.
Well, I mean, we're assuming that it's like Danny's claimed Drogon, Viserys' claimed Viserion, and
Viserys might claim
Aegon
Drogon. I
probably.
don't know. Because they're Dany dragons, I'm sure she'll take Drogon
Yeah,
for
well, yeah, and I imagine that
Aegon will
Aegon
get
has
the
Rhaegal.
Rhaegal. Yeah. Um. Fucking. I'm going to assume that the dragon horn will not work because all the dragons will have masters.
Yeah, I can't really bind it to the will of someone if there's not if they
Because
have
a
like a
dragon
dedicated
cannot take more than one rider until the former rider is dead. Um, at least that's what we understand. The only reason Dany's special is because she's one dragon. She's one Targaryen with three dragons rather than the other way. But she only ever rides Drogon, which means the other ones aren't really claimed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Euron might be fucked because we have Dorne. We have at least some of the Reach, probably the more rebel houses of the Reach. If we want to go against what is it, the Preston Jacob shit, that's potentially like House Beesbury and all those guys. Let me look it up real quick. Jacobs. Aegon map. I don't want to dig through all those videos right now, but there's a lot. There's a lot of houses that could potentially be royal in
Yeah.
for
I
Aegon.
say that I can't see anyone surviving the three dragons because that's like the point of Aegon's conquest. And unlike in Aegon's conquest, they have Dorne on side from the beginning.
Yeah.
I think
Um.
this is just like Targaryen sweep right
Yeah.
now.
I'm going to assume Stannis like I can't. Uh, these guys have a better claim than me. If we want to go, I'm just because I like the theory. We'll go Moonman theory. He surrenders to Aegon. Aegon probably doesn't kill him. Maybe he
Right.
even
And
betroths Shireen to John.
actually, that's a good idea.
Because then you have the Stormlands. So Stannis in the Stormlands.
Stormland by Stannis and the North by marriage.
The North
Well,
by
marriage.
the
Well, not
North be
necessarily,
the North would be loyal, I assume, because of
because Bran was saved from
yeah.
becoming a weird tree wizard.
The Eerie would surrender. I see. Tully's will follow the North. Reach either most of the Reach or all of the Reach. At least the main military might of the Reach would definitely be Aegon, which means the Reach has to surrender. Whether they get
Right.
killed, I don't know. Probably not.
I don't know. I guess it just depends on whether the High Sparrow is like, I'm gonna execute Marjorie.
Yeah, well, that is given that they're still alive by the time they get there. Cersei might do some crazy shit.
But it also wouldn't matter because they still have Willis.
Does Cersei get killed? I doubt it.
I think she might be executed for the whole incest thing, unless they just don't go by that card and go, eh.
I'm gonna assume they don't go by that card because, like, what's the point?
Like, yeah.
Also, Adorner would specifically not want them to go by that because Marcella's been married to Tristan.
That's true. Yeah. He doesn't seem to have any distaste for Marcella. Yeah.
So I say end the map right. Mace and Olenna, let's say they don't die. The main guys, Tyrion is with the Aegon cause.
Yeah, so
he's still embittered, but he can't really do much because they have better advisors around. I mean, honestly, he might just get killed for being an asshole. He might get installed as. Actually, he'll probably be installed as Lord of Casterly Rock if I'm going to be assumed.
Yeah.
So Tyrion's get the Western.
I mean, he's the rightful heir to Casterly Rock for one.
Tyrion gets the Western lands. Dorne probably enforces like fucking equal gender laws because they're the main backers and they can have the ability to do that.
I don't know if it'd go that far because
I don't know.
I don't think that would be a thing.
Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. I don't know. I see Randall Tarley becoming the new Lord Paramount of the Westerlands, but I still see the Tyrells getting to keep Highgarden. So basically, they just owe taxes to Randall Tarley now.
Perhaps.
And
then we got the Vale. Littlefinger would just surrender because
yeah,
it's like, I got
Littlefinger.
Sansa Stark to
Uh,
help with the claiming in the north. I've got Sweet Robin.
so Robert Arryn is betrothed to Sansa Stark, or either Robin Arryn dies and Harry the Heir becomes Harry the Heir. What?
Harding.
Harry Harding. Yeah. So the Hardings become the Lord Paramounts of the Vale. If Sweet Robin dies.
I don't think it'd be the Harding because he's like a distant cousin. Like
oh no, he's supposed to take the name Aaron, isn't he?
Yeah.
So Harry Aaron.
Harry
Harding,
Aaron or Robert
Harding,
Aaron, either
Aaron,
way. I don't know if they would marry Sansa, but maybe.
That's Littlefinger's plan up until this point. So if Robert Aaron dies, I see Sansa being married to Harry the Heir, and then they get the Vale in, so the Vale will be on their side. I don't know. Littlefinger probably continues to be Lord of Harrenhal, but doesn't become Lord Paramount of the Riverlands. I assume the Tullys would still get to keep that. Tullys get Riverrun back.
Tullys would be all on board for the anti-Lannister regime, so yeah.
They get Riverrun back. Lord Peter goes from being a Lord of the Fingers to being Lord of Harrenhal, which is, I don't know. He's probably gonna die of a broken back at some point because of that. But yeah, all in all, I see this going. They're probably going to torch the fuck. Euron is gonna get killed. Euron isn't going down without a fight. Victarion isn't going down without a fight. I see both of them dying. I see Theon getting executed for being a traitor.
Well, no, because he probably would have still saved Arya or Jane Poole.
Yeah, that's not gonna do anything. I see Stannis still burning him. I see Asha being the
new leader of the Iron Islands.
Yeah, especially because she was never on board with Euron.
She was never on board with Euron. She'd probably bend the knee to, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it just sounds like a Targaryen sweep, and I mean, with the realm unified, quote unquote.
Did we say Jon married again?
What?
What did we say? Jon married again?
Martell. No, that was Viserys. Who would Jon marry? I mean, I guess Jon could marry Marjorie.
Yeah,
because they wouldn't. I doubt they'd annul the marriage between.
Yeah.
Tommen and Marjorie.
That'd just be really funny if Marjorie just kept having
remarried.
Yeah. Who does Jon marry? Jon marries someone for sure, for allies' sake,
Yeah.
Arion marries Viserys. Daenerys marries Aegon. Jon marries. Jon won't marry anyone in the Vale. Won't marry anyone in Westerlands. Won't marry anyone in the Reach. Won't marry anyone in Dorne.
He marries Asha.
Maybe he marries Asha. That is a possibility.
Literally the best the Greyjoys could hope for.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to. Yeah, I mean, we've been talking for fucking over 2 hours about this, so I'm gonna say we're gonna have to end it here because my voice is hurting. But yeah, this is fun.
Okay.
Well, thanks you guys for listening. If you did, for 2 hours of two idiots rambling online about A Song of Ice and Fire, basically fan fiction. So yeah, see you around.